care. Therefore, they are unable to understand the purport of Tridandi Sannyas, and as such, they are not inclined to dedicate their lives to the service of Mukunda. They simply think of merging into the existence of Brahman because of their disgust with material existence. The acharyas who advocate the Daiva Varnashram, the social order of Chaturvarnya mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita, do not accept the proposition of Asura Varnashram, which maintains that the social order of Varna is indicated by birth. The most intimate devotee of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, namely Gadadhar Pandit, accepted Tridanda Sannyas and also accepted Madhava Upadhyaya as his Tridandi Sannyas disciple. It is said that from this Madhavacharya, the sampradaya known in Western India as the Vallabhacharya sampradaya has begun. Srila Gopal Bhatta Goswami, who is known as Smriti Acharya in the Gaudiya Vaishnava sampradaya, later accepted the Tridandi Sannyas order from Tridandipad Prabodhananda Saraswati. Although acceptance of Tridanda Sannyas is not distinctly mentioned in the Gaudiya Vaishnava literature. The first verse of Srila Rupa Goswami's Upadesha Amrita advocates that one should accept the Tridanda Sannyas order by controlling the 6 forces. Vacho vegam manasa krodha vegam, jiva vegam udaropastha vegam, evan vegan yog shahita dhira, sarvam apivam prativim sashishya. One who can control the forces of speech, mind, anger, belly, tongue, and genitals is known as a Goswami and is competent to accept disciples all over the world. The followers of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu never accepted the Mayavad order of sannyas, and for this they cannot be blamed. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted Sridhar Swami, who was a Tridandi sannyasi. But the Mayavadi sannyasis, not understanding Sridhar Swami, sometimes think that Sridhar Swami belonged to the Mayavad Ekadanta sannyasi community. Actually, this was not the case. Srila Prabhupada does several things here. He points out the historical authenticity of the Tridandi Sannyas. He explains what it is, that there are 3 within this rod. There are actually, or within this package here, you find 3 rods. And then the 4th rod. The 3 rods represent dedication to Krishna with body, mind, and words. And the 4th rod, the Jivadanda, represents the living being himself who's surrendered to the service of Krishna. So although there are 4, it's called Tridanda, triple staff. And the Mayavadis, in contrast, are Ekadandis. They have 1 danda, which symbolizes their goal of merging with the absolute truth, or covering their eternal identity as being non-different from the absolute truth in fact. So the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has a strategy, because the Ekadanda sannyas, he's surrounded by Mayavadis. So in order to preach to the Mayavadis, he accepted sannyas from a Mayavadi sannyasi, apparently Mayavadi sannyasi, or an Ekadanda sannyasi, so that he would be accepted by the Ekadanda sannyasis. He would have access to people like Prabodhananda Saraswati, so that he was able to turn them to Krishna consciousness. But although externally I might have seen 1 danda in the hand of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, 1 rod, his inner intention is indicated here by his reciting this verse, which expresses the conviction of the Tridandi Sannyasi. Eta Satisfied, being completely fixed, Paratmanishta, in the devotional service of Krishna. Adhyasita Purvataram, following in the footsteps of the previous acharyas. Aham Tarishyan, I'll cross over this very difficult material existence, Durantapana. Tamohapangam Vimasheva, by worshipping the lotus feet of Mukunda, Krishna, the giver of liberation. The Mayavadis are trying to achieve impersonal liberation, but for a person engaged in the devotional service of Krishna, liberation is just a byproduct. It automatically comes. His concern is not to achieve liberation, but to be fixed in the devotional service of Krishna as the real eternal engagement. Those who neglect the lotus feet of the Lord fall down from their impersonal liberation. But those who are engaged in Krishna's eternal service, serving Krishna's lotus feet, are eternally blessed. They're properly situated. From one point of view, everyone who's engaged in the devotional service of the Lord is properly situated, and everyone who's dedicating himself to Krishna's service can be called a sannyasi. One time, we were in Kennedy Airport in New York, seeing Srila Prabhupada off, and we were in a little VIP room, maybe from here to there, it's about the size of it, packed with devotees. And Gopal Krishna Maharaj came. At that time, he was in, this was maybe around 1970, so he was in his previous ashram, householder ashram, and he came directly from work. So he offered obeisances to Prabhupada and said that, "Oh Prabhupada, I'm sorry I came in my karmi clothes." He was dressed in a suit and tie. Prabhupada said, "Not karmi, karma yogi." And then he quoted this verse, "Anashrita karma phalam, karyam karma karoti, sa sannyasi." The person who's always engaged in the service of Krishna is actually a sannyasi. So from that point of view, all the devotees give up material interests for the service of Krishna. But as Prabhupada mentions, acceptance of the sannyas order is one of the items of devotional service. Everyone is engaged in devotional service, and at the same time, in the Daiva Varnashram system, in the divine system of social organization, there are four orders: the Brahmacharya ashram, Grahastha ashram, Vanaprastha ashram, and Sannyasa ashram. The student life for getting a strong foundation in spiritual understanding and control of the mind and senses. The Grahastha ashram for continued spiritual advancement in family life. Then the Vanaprastha ashram, which is a ashram meant for gradual detachment from family life. Because in family life, so many responsibilities come upon one, so many duties in terms of the material world. And there may be natural attachments that develop to wife, children, home, and so on. So there's an ashram, Vanaprastha ashram, retirement. Retirement is still there today, but people retire to the golf course or to a comfortable club. But Vedic retirement means to retire to undergo voluntary trouble, to undergo some austerity by giving up